So we'll make a start. A huge thank you for joining the final session of our Beyond the Gates series with Whole School Send. We've heard already from Claire and Debbie in our first webinar and the Project Search team about some amazing opportunities around supported internships. And in our second session, we heard from Sarah LeGood and the team at Derby College and really challenged our thinking around inclusion and what that means to us within our setting. They shared some great practice around transition and some really aspirational outcomes for their learners. And sharing authentic lived experience is really important to us here at Whole School Send. And really, we couldn't have chosen a better session to end this series on. We're in for a real treat this afternoon. As I mentioned, please do engage with us through the chat function. We'd love to hear from you. If you have any questions for our panelists, our speakers, please pop them into the chat or with the Q&A button you can see at the bottom. And just really looking forward to hear from you and maybe sharing some of your practice this afternoon. Thanks, Jenny. So yeah, absolutely delighted to be able to welcome Mark Goodwin, co-founder and director of IMAST, and a number of mixed ability champions this afternoon who are going to share some really inspiring journeys with us. After attending a rehearsal with the guys this afternoon, we really are in for an absolute treat. As always, in terms of a bit about Whole School Send that you maybe have seen before, hopefully you're aware, and if you attended those other two webinars, really the work that we're doing across the country and in those 8 RSC regions to really connect all the dots really around send and inclusion, how we can support schools, multi-academy trusts, local authorities at a strategic level, and how we can really liberate the talent and knowledge that exists in the system. So please do engage with other aspects of the Whole School Send offer. But it's my real pleasure to hand over to Mark for the start of this afternoon's session. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. I think it's going to be a slightly different kind of presentation to the one that you're used to, because I'm here with, well, we originally had 9 experts by experience. We're down to 8, although one of them's insisting that we keep his slide in and we run through what he has to say. We'll introduce ourselves in turn as we come up to tell our stories. But my name's Mark Goodwin. I am, as Al said, co-founder of International Mixed Ability Sport, and prior to that, and I'm still a teacher. Prior to that, I had a background in social care, and so it was a natural and logical step for me to move into teaching the people who I'd worked with for most of my adult life. It is going to be a very different kind of presentation today to perhaps one you've seen before, and our experts by experience are very much going to be trying to prompt you to think about the people that you work with and maybe think about them a little bit differently and a little bit more about what they might be able to achieve with the right support and promotion. We're going to start though with a short video about the principles of mixed ability, because our guys are changing the world and they're using sport as that vehicle to change the world. But we need you guys to understand what mixed ability is all about and how that differentiates from kind of traditional provision. So if we start with the video, we get even more people's voices, authentic voices, which have led to great change. So could we run the video, please, Jenny?
People say I could not play.
People said we could get hurt.
They say they didn't have anyone like me at the club.
They say I have to wear a coloured bib.
They said they had to change the rules for me.
They said I'm not good enough.
Look how far we came.
I'm a member with disability.
With mixed ability, I fit in.
With mixed ability, we're just another team.
Playing in our local clubs, just like everyone else. Some of us have disabilities, some of us don't.
Some of us have been through a tough time. or are recovering from an illness.
Some of us have come back to the sport we love.
Whatever your passion, whatever your sport, whatever your ability, the journey starts with you. To become a mixed ability champion or to find out more, please contact IMAS through our social media channels or on our website. We can't wait to hear from you.
Thank you, Jenny. Could we move on to, so you might have gathered then that that's pretty much about the provision of sport for people with and without disabilities. It's actually about local club membership. So Tom and I are just going to say a few words about what mixed ability is definitely not. And that is perhaps the traditional provision of let's go into a school for 12 weeks and we'll do some provision. This can be from a national governing body or a local sports club or an NGB. It can be from a successful sports club who've got a community foundation that's a charitable arm, and they go in and they're pretty much run by the charitable model. So mixed ability is not that. It's not separate to a community club. It's not saying that people who are mixed ability are all disabled. What is it, Tom? What would you say it is?
It's saying we're one big group and we work together as a team, as a unit.
Okay.
And we're in one big bubble together.
Is membership important to you, Tom?
Membership is involved. It's with Catholic.
Okay.
Being a member or being part of the family is Catholic.
And I think part of that involves education still, and we use our participants as educators and go into grassroots clubs and beyond grassroots clubs really to kind of make those sweeping changes. And instead of ticking the box that says yes we are inclusive, we actually help and work with those.
We tell them how we're inclusive and we explain to them what we have done and how we want to change it. Try and get them to think about what they want to change in their group.
So is it fair to say we kickstart their journey, Tom?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Jenny. Okay, Anthony, so your journey started a long time ago, but it started in a classroom, is that right? You'll just need to unmute, Anthony. Have we still got him there, Jenny?
He's popped back. I've just asked him to unmute now. 2
Right.
seconds. I think it's just connecting.
He might his internet connection might not be very good. Yeah. Anthony was just saying your journey started in the classroom.
I think it still might be connecting on the connection bit.
I want him to tell his own story if possible.
Hang on then.
Oh, it looks like we might have lost him.
Perhaps, Mark, if we move on to another one of our brilliant panelists and then maybe come back to Anthony.
Yeah, Jenny, if you could give us a heads up when he's back in and it looks like he's fixed. And to be fair, I mean, this has just highlighted some of the issues that the pandemic created for us. So it's been a double-edged sword in the sense of, on the one hand, we've been able to recruit more experts from a wider area of the country, but on the other, there's a technological gap, and that can be through internet provision or just not understanding how to use the sort of communication methods that we're all growing used to now. If he's not with us, we'll move on, Jenny, and we'll come back to him. Okay, and again, please, Jenny. Okay, Rachel, you've had a bit of a journey with a national governing body of a sport. Do you want to tell us how that began?
Yes. So first of all, I'll introduce myself. So I'm Rachel, and I'm calling from Malvern in Worcestershire today. And I've been playing racquetball for 7 years now, and I'm involved with what they're called.
They're called England squash.
England squash, that's it. Sorry, yeah, went out of my mind, yeah.
And so England squash have got a campaign to get 10 new mixed ability offers in their clubs up and down the country. Where have you been so far, Rachel?
I went to Barnsley last year, and I'm going to Birmingham in April to get clubs in the West Midlands signed up.
Okay, so we're already finding that there's clubs in Yorkshire and Lancashire jumping on the back of the work that you've done in Barnsley.
Yep.
And what's going to happen in Birmingham? I think you're in some sort of special arena with England squash, aren't you?
Yeah, in a big glass court, isn't it? In the middle of a train station.
In the middle of a train station. That's unusual, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Great. Well, we're looking forward to some great video of that.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Rachel.
Okay.
Jenny? Okay, Jenny, I'm assuming we haven't got Anthony in the room yet.
So hang on, wait.
Is he popping back in and out?
Wait.
Yeah, coming in and out. I think there might be maybe an internet issue. He keeps popping up and then we lose him.
Okay.
We'll
Okay,
try and come back at the end.
Yeah, no problem. If you let me know when he's there, because I'm not seeing him. I've got Michael here with me, and Michael's very keen to tell his story.
Yeah.
Michael's made, I don't know, he's caused waves, haven't you?
Yeah.
You've created waves. What sport did you choose to take up?
Rowing club.
Okay.
In South Hair.
All right. So I don't know how many people here are aware of rowing, but it's tended in the past to be an occupation taken up by university educated, white middle class kind of people. And Michael, have you changed things at your rowing club?
That more people join in, don't speak to York Rowing Club and Northampton Rowing Club.
So you've been to other rowing clubs and you've told them about your rowing and your mixed ability rowing. Yeah. And what's been really good for you? What have you enjoyed the most about rowing?
Get outside exercise.
Okay, getting outside and exercise. And is there anything else? I mean, I can see that there's a picture next to you and you've got something in your hand there. Is there something you wanted to show people? Okay, if you hold it up there to that camera, they might be able to see it. What have you got there?
A medal.
Just one?
Two.
Two medals, okay. Where did you go to get those medals?
Italy.
Italy. So you went to Turin, to the Turin Rowing Club, and did you tell them about mixed ability rowing?
Yeah.
And are they going to start mixed ability rowing as well?
Yeah.
Okay, so
in Ireland this year.
And you're part of a tournament in Ireland this summer?
Yeah.
Fantastic. So you're making real change in the world of rowing.
And I got something coming up into March.
Oh, I don't know about that. Tell us about what you've got coming up at the end of March.
Award night.
An awards night, okay. And what award are you up for?
For I don't know what it's called.
Right. Is it like a personal achievement?
Yeah.
Is it something that you've done that's really good?
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, fingers crossed that you get your award.
Wing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay. Thank you. I think is that everything about your mixed ability rowing journey? Have we missed anything out?
Video.
A video. You want to show a video? Okay. So during the pandemic, there was a terrible time for Michael when during lockdown, and he couldn't get out and he couldn't be with his other crew members. So we worked together to make a short video. Do you want to introduce it now?
And this year, last week, done that flood then. That flooding again in Finlay and South Hair.
Just to be clear, we're not rowing at the moment, because if Michael got in a boat now, he'd be swept out to sea he'd be down that river and he'd be out in the ocean before 5 minutes had passed.
Yeah.
So we're going to play Michael's video now that he made during the pandemic. Pandemic Positivity, it's called.
My name's Michael. A white roller was good for me, good for body, the edge, and exercise, join cell, and all friends around the growing court. Get the ball out, get more people involved. Need to get involved. Knock down, upset me, can't come down, do it, rolling. It's boring, no do. Missing going away on holiday. Said it on going away on October and can't go now. Not allowed to do it, yeah. Said it will back novel soon. Ruby get back novel. Ruby after Christmas. We'll go back out, do it.
I think we're just waiting now for the calm after the 3 storms, and then you can get back on the water again.
Yeah.
Is that right? Great. Okay, thanks. Is it possible to just check if Anthony's back with us?
It did pop up for a second, but seems to keep disconnecting.
Okay.
I think Mark will maybe wait till the end for Anthony, and then we'll try and see if we can get Anthony on at the end, if we can get him sorted with the sound of things. Thanks, Mark.
That'd be great. Anthony's. I think one of the problems is that Anthony's not re-engaged with physical classroom learning. He's. I think the pandemic's made him a little bit more cautious about getting out there. But certainly, Tom's got a powerful story. Tom's going to be joining us from Derby today, and I think, Al, you're going to work with Tom to help him tell his story. Is that right?
Yeah, I think Tom's waved at us there. So Tom and Tracy are going to be signing to screen there. We're getting a lovely wave from Tom. And Tom's got some things that he wanted to share about sports. So initially, I don't know, Tracy, if you're there, if Tom wants to start signing about the sports which he started, so how he first got involved in sport and the kind of things that he does. So Tom is sharing there that he first started off with some running, and it got him to the Olympics, which is amazingly impressive there. So a really talented athlete. Tom went on to do some dressage and then went on also to join a mixed ability basketball team in Derby. But one of the things with Tom, he desperately wanted to play rugby. So even though he was amazing at all of these other sports, he desperately wanted to play rugby, and he started to go down to the local rugby club, and Tom started to volunteer at the rugby club. So he'd do kind of things where he would put the equipment out, he would help out with some bits around the club, but he really wanted to play. So Tom was one of the founder members of Derby Bucks Mixed Ability rugby team. So he actually started up his own rugby team, which I think is an amazing thing to do. And then finally, Tracy, I think Tom's going to sign to us the kind of impact and effect that sports, and in particularly mixed ability rugby, has on his life. So I can see Tom started to sign away there. So Tom said how it really has supported and helped his confidence. So his mental and physical health and well-being really benefits from the work he does with rugby and the different sports there. So it's amazing to be part of a team. So the social aspect of playing sport and having his friends around him as well. And also similar to the last story that we had about the lockdown thing, that confidence to kind of stay healthy, to stay active, and has really supported Tom in a number of different ways. And I can share. So I'm incredibly honoured to play in the same rugby team as Tom. and he's an absolute superstar in terms of everything he does for our team, both on and off the pitch. So a real mixed ability champion. So a huge thank you, Tom, for sharing your story, and I'll give Tom a round of applause there. So well done, Tom. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you, Tom, and thanks, Al. We've got, I think the next slide is probably going to be Paul's. Can I just double check that, please, Jenny?
Yeah, Paul's.
Yeah, okay. I'm sorry to have to say that Paul's had a family bereavement and couldn't join us today, but he insisted that we left his slide in because he wanted to talk about his influence. So Paul has cerebral palsy and uses a walker. But he also plays mixed ability sports, including rugby. And he has been very influential on the training work that we've done with young doctors. Trainee doctors from who are still at university. Paul's been able to share his experiences and talk about the fact that people often look at him and make assumptions about what Paul can't do. And Paul undoes those assumptions, and he shows and talks about his experiences on the pitch as well, which is where he leaves his walking frame on the side of. Now, Paul plays full contact rugby, and he's very proud of the fact that he's a club member. He's been on tour with the team several times. He was particularly keen that I told everybody what his nickname is. So, guys, his nickname is Paul the Maul, because he really likes to get stuck in when he's on the pitch. So his influence has gone kind of beyond just being a participant and being a passive participant in sport. And in fact, when you think about it, he's changed the whole synergy of teaching and learning in the sense of he's out there now teaching people who probably have never had somebody with a learning disability before, giving them a kind of human side of a story and making them see the person first. And in fact, I think we're going to move on to Tom now, and Tom's also had a very similar experiences of teaching GPs. So could we, Jenny, could we move on so people can see who Tom is, please? Okay. Tom, you're best to explain your story.
Right, can I go in with them now?
Yeah, wherever you like. Yeah.
Michael.
Oh, you want to go? You want to jump in the middle? Are you all right, swapping, Michael?
Niggle.
Sorry, we haven't rehearsed this bit. There you go. Don't throw the furniture around, though, will you?
Yeah, in room to do it.
Right, come on then, Tom. Tell us your story.
Well, I'll say 4 years ago, I moved up here from where I used to live in Buckinghamshire. And when I was down there, I used to support a local team, and I used to be given a job, which is to take the water bottles onto the pitch when they wanted to drink.
So just to reiterate that, you were at the side of the pitch as a rugby fan.
Yeah.
Then you were the water boy.
Yeah.
And you used to take the bottles on for the players. Who's the big beardy guy that stood next to you there?
My brother and I.
So did you used to watch your brother play rugby?
As well as, yeah.
Okay. So how did you make the journey from watching your brother and being a water boy to becoming the number 4 who's over there, who I think has just scored a try?
I came up here 4 years ago. I moved up here as someone who used to know Mark from a cartoon and know who I am, and they contacted, took me to a training session, and I was going to play there, and I've never looked back on it.
Okay, so you went to a training session. You've never looked back from that training session. It was with a mixed ability team.
Yeah.
They're your team now.
Yeah.
What are they called?
Bumblebees.
The Bumblebees. And I think the original idea would have Anthony telling that part of the story, and we'll go back to Anthony, won't we? And you can say how he's founded that.
Yeah.
Could you tell us a little bit more about the work that you've been doing with IMAS? So moving from the rugby pitch and back into the classroom.
we've been going out to do presentations to junior doctors, schools. No, I remember a few years ago we went down to the Olympic Park.
Okay. So where did this begin though? What's your experience of hospitals and doctors?
What I'm thinking, I think it has changed a little bit, but I think it might have gone back into what it used to be like.
So do you want to tell
it started. Beforehand, before I came up here and I went to the hospital, they used to speak to the people who were with me instead of talking to me myself.
So this is at a hospital appointment.
Yeah.
You would go with a carer or a family member.
Family member.
And the doctor would talk to who?
The family member.
And
all the time.
They'd talk to the family member and not to you.
Yeah.
And who was it about? Who was the consultation
Me.
about? So the consultation was about you. So when you went in, told the doctors who were in the classroom about this, what was their reaction?
They were a bit shocked, taken back by it, I would say.
Yeah. Do you think you might have prevented them from making the same mistake?
Yes, maybe, yeah.
Okay.
But I really believe it might have gone a few steps forward, but since the pandemic started, it might have gone back to the way it used to be now.
So your concern is that since the pandemic, we might have gone back a few steps because it's been difficult to see doctors, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. So what's your job going to be with IMAS now? What do you need to get back out there doing?
Presentation.
Okay.
And getting the ball rolling for the junior doctor to speak to the patient instead of speaking to the patient who is with the patient, speak to the patient and find out what's wrong for them instead of speaking to the person who are with them.
So we need to keep educating the health service.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tom. Okay, Tom, there's another slide coming up now, and I think it's important to keep telling the people who are here today why mixed ability is different. Could we have the next slide, please, Jenny? Okay, before we set off on this, and I know you're very good at this, you practiced this a few times.
Can we ask them, see if they would find out, see if they find, what would they think difficult?
Well, shall we ask the people who are watching today, what point in this slide do they think they're at?
Yeah.
How about that? Okay, so why don't you tell us what's happening on panel 1 where everybody's got the same amount of boxes?
One of them can't see over the fence.
Is that fair?
No.
Okay. So have they made it fairer on panel 2?
The second one, they made it, they could all see over the fence that way.
Okay.
The first one is really not what we want. The fence has been taken away and they're more interactive.
So if we remove barriers like the fences that are there, that's barriers in society, isn't it?
Yeah.
Not just in sport. Then people can watch from the side.
Yeah.
So why is mixed ability different? What's the difference on the 4th panel?
We know that we get injured and we get hurt, but we still want to do it. We still want to take part. And that's what Anthony is very
let him tell that
passionate
story. That's his
about
story.
doing it.
Yeah. So we've removed the barriers then. It's not just for rugby, is it?
No, it's about everything.
It's about everything. It's not even just about sport. We can make significant change, can't we? By making everything mixed ability.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tom. That's great. Jenny, I think we can move on to the next slide. Is Cameron with us? Because I can't see Cameron on my screen.
Yeah, I'm here. Hi.
Brilliant.
Hello.
Okay, Cam. So we can see 2 dramatic pictures there. One is a lot of sleepy older people. And then there's you. So what did you do to make change?
Well, hi. First of all, I'm introducing myself.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Cameron. I'm an IMAS trainer. Also, I play for the Bumblebees. Well, in sport, should I say it affects me mentally and physically because of my condition. It's Pride Willie through school. I couldn't, should I say, I couldn't fit in with mainstream sport because I've always been in an SEN school. It's like, basically like when you're playing sports and stuff with your own kind, it's not as fun as playing with mainstream students. It's like we've all discarded from playing with mainstream students in a way. But as I was growing up, I tried other sports, but I didn't fit in. Then I found this agency and buddied up with someone, and I started coming playing rugby, and that opened the barriers for me.
Sorry, Cam, carry on.
You know, you're a pain in the backside.
I know, that's my job.
I know, but I've lost what I'm going to say.
Can I prompt you?
No, it's all right. But as well as I was saying about this agency, I buddied up with someone and I went training with them. And I started finding it out, find it out. I went a couple of training sessions with them, and then I found it's all right. Then after that, I kept going and playing. Now I'm part of a team, which feels like I'm part of a family.
Brilliant, thank you, Cam. So, as an IMAS trainer and a younger person, you were asked to join as an advisor, weren't you, to a panel who were looking at sport provision nationally for young people. Who did you talk to when you were doing that?
Well, I talked to the House of Lords.
Okay.
Where I spoke about my experiences in sport in education.
Brilliant. And did they listen to you? Have they taken your feedback on board?
Yes, they have.
So there's a potential here, Cam, that you might have influenced policy for the whole country.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. What a great journey. Thank you for sharing that as an IMAS expert by experience and showing people. Do you think, just as a quick question, Cam, do you think people at school ever thought you'd be able to achieve what you've achieved today?
No, not at all.
That's great. Thank you very much, Cam. Could we, first of all, before we move on to Sam, can we just check, because I've messaged Anthony and just asked him if he could find where the modem is and see if he can stand next to it. Anything there at all, Jenny?
He just popped up and unfortunately he's just popped off again. we had a flash.
We'll try him.
I'll keep you updated.
We'll try him again, I'm sure. All right, thank you, Cam. Sam, would you be able to introduce yourself on the next slide, please?
Hello, everyone. I hope you like looking at my leg to start off with. You'll find out the story of that at the end. My name's Sam. I live in Hertfordshire, so about half an hour outside of London. I've had an interesting upbringing, had early childhood trauma. My mum passed away when I was 7 and didn't see her much in the year before because she had leukemia and she was in remission and she got hit by a motorbike. So that's obviously quite traumatic and affected a lot of my way with school. And so adding lots of diagnoses, labels, etc. And that made school quite challenging for me. And At school, I was in a lot of my bottom sets. I was in a mainstream school, but some of the support I got was great from the Senko, but then there was some lessons where, excuse the term I used, I was treated as if I was dumb. I was in maths and having to do colouring in. Is that really lesson? Not really, in my opinion. I still want to learn, and so I would challenge, and I did get moved up, etc. And so that was important for me, to challenge, and I did spend a lot of time out of school with suspensions, etc. But then there was a bit of an identity. I didn't know who I was. Moving on out of school, chose to leave school and go to college because I thought it was a better option for me, and having better support and doing like a dedicated subject, and that's what I really wanted to do, and that went a lot smoother because of choosing what I wanted to do. After college, I moved out of home 2 weeks after turning 19, moved into a flat with my brother, and we both had some outreach support to come in and support us for our own needs. That went okay for a couple of years, and then our relationship really struggled, shall we say, and was a real breaking point, both having different needs at that point and realising that it wasn't the best compatible match. And that was quite hard with some of the stuff that went through with that. So following that, I had lots of meetings with social workers, and then me and my brother both went into different places. So I moved into a supported living, and that was really good for me. I had good conversations with my social worker, and as much as it was an absolutely beautiful flat that I moved into, knew it wasn't going to be something that I wanted to live there long term. Didn't need all of that support. I wanted to get my mental health better. I wanted to be able to learn skills that I hadn't really learned when I lived with my brother, so learning cooking, etc., and just being able to get on and have a normal life. So whilst living there, so I had lots of kept in touch with my social worker, but I worked with the support staff there. I was the tenant rep to make sure people had a view of how things were working there, because actually there were things that didn't work and things needed to change, and it was a new service, so actually people needed to have their voices heard, so helped to try and make things like that happen. Whilst still there, I stayed in touch with my social worker and the team that she worked for in the local authority, and started doing some work with them, working with people's strengths and getting people to realise what they are. I think a big thing, everyone has strengths, but we don't always know what they are. Sometimes we need other people to tell us you're good at that, so that you can continue to work off that, and that's really important. So then that led into paid employment with the local authority. So I've been at the county council for just over 6 years now. I've worked full time. I've achieved lots of great things in that time, making sure that people are at the heart of what we do, linking up with like the university, teaching there sometimes, involved in a big piece of research about people coming out of long stay hospitals. I've been mentioned in the Houses of Parliament because I was a winner on the first Learning Disability and Autism Leader List in 2018, and that led to my Member of Parliament writing to me, which was quite nice, and good to be recognised there. And personal achievements of learning to drive. Learning to drive is something that has really opened up my world, and like I think it's something that, you know, it's doable. There's lots of places around the country that have got different support mechanisms to help people. Yes, I learned later than a lot of my peers, but actually it doesn't matter. And I've done it, and I've got people around me that are friends that don't drive and people without disabilities, etc. And they're surprised. I said, why is it a surprise? It's something everyone wants to do. It's your freedom. I play sport as well. Rugby is a very common theme here. As I say, sports thing. So I captain one of the sides at Letchworth, the Bravehearts, just a mixed ability side, and I've done that for many years. I actually also have my name on the plaque at the wall at the club, which is pretty awesome. So I look forward to when I'm an old man and being able to go into the club and pointing out my name and telling some stories that go with it. And then finally, going back to my leg here, is I got selected to play for the first ever mixed ability rugby invitational side, the Maoris, that played at the Cardiff Arms Park on the 4th of December. And my cap number there is 028. And, you know, I said earlier about all of these labels people didn't like attached. This is a positive label. It's a label I choose to have myself here now. And being proud that I did that. And I think linking that back, thinking with driving, it was my oyster. I had a bit of an eventful journey up to Cardiff, having a blowout on the motorway, pretty scary. But actually, it's skills that I've learned, etc., that have helped me to do that. So, you know, yes, that was scary, but I learned what I had to do. And people can do anything they want. And it's actually just giving people hope and aspirations. And, you know, that's the best thing you can do. And the best bit of advice is just pull people's strengths out of them and really work with them and celebrate them.
Thank you, Sam, and a really valuable lesson on labelling people and allowing them to choose their own labels as well. Really appreciate that, Sam. I think we're probably going to round off the presentation unless we get Anthony back. Just so that everybody's aware, I've let Anthony know. Al has very kindly offered to let us do a little recording of Anthony with his slides, and we should be able to send that out to everybody who's attended today. So we'll try and organise that for later in the week if we don't get Anthony back on. So Rachel, we began in the classroom, or we should have begun in the classroom. That was Anthony's story. So he started his journey to creating a mixed ability activity, which is now global. It's truly international, and we're still doing that somehow, aren't we, Rachel? What do we do every week? Where do we meet up, and how do we do it, and what do we do to co-produce things?
Yeah, I am off mute. What do? We meet up online, or some of you are in the classroom every Wednesday, and we prepare presentations like this one that we've done today and other presentations that we do.
Okay, go on.
You put me off my stride now.
Oh, that's twice now. I'm going to get my hand really slapped at the end of today.
We're all experts by experience. Can't remember. Don't know what I was going to say.
No worries, Rachel. I mean, you know, what number of activities have they got? So somebody's just put that their son wouldn't be able to do rugby, and you're a racquetball person. You promote that. Can you remember a lot of the other activities? So here in Bradford, for example, we've been able to create multiple sports, haven't we?
Yeah. You've got loads of sports, haven't you? Like boxing.
Yeah.
Obviously rowing, I think. Kinball, is that in Bradford?
Well, kinballs, yeah, that's across the country as well. Yeah.
Yeah. All sorts of different sports.
Okay, so they're around. There's a mixed ability activity every day somewhere in the city that anybody can go along and join. As reflected in a recent Activity Alliance report, the post-pandemic, the sports that involve people with disabilities or disability-specific sports have been the slowest to get going. So we are pushing constantly that the mixed ability activities restart, and so there are opportunities for everybody to join in, and they're not just kind of on a Tuesday afternoon when everybody's in a day centre or they're in a school or they're in a college, but they're actually in an evening. They're at the weekend. They're mainstream. They're with the rest of the club. And that really is what all of the presenters and many others promote through the mixed ability activities. So I wanted to thank everybody who was here today. And unless we've got Anthony back on, I'll go to the final slide. We're going to go to the final slide. All right then. So thank you to everybody who's helped today, and apologies for my interrupting people. Yeah, that happens. That happens in the classroom too. We've decided on a change to the end of our usual presentations. We usually have a long drawn out silence when we ask people, don't we, Tom, for that?
Manifesto.
Oh, you've thrown something else in the mix there. We've got a mixed ability manifesto. You can go online and find this, and I think Al might be able to provide you with a link. But what we really want to do this time is not to ask you to ask us any questions, but to think about how you can influence.
We can help you check out a club or start it off or down in Derby, really.
Yeah, well, they're not just from Derby, they're from all over. So what can we do to help you? How can you make change? And we're going to leave you with that as our question for today, and we're going to hand back to Al.
Thanks, Mark, and a huge thank you to everyone. So just an absolute joy to listen to those very inspiring stories and journeys, and so much to reflect on there. I sit here as a school leader and reflect on what does that look like within our school community. So we've heard lots about a variety of things today, from grassroots sports clubs all the way through to the Houses of Parliament and the House of Lords, and the amazing impact all of you guys are having. So again, a huge thank you for sharing those stories, uplifting stories and very inspiring stories with us today. And I think I speak for everyone on the call to say a huge thank you to everyone who's contributed today. Just to sort of wrap up in terms of, I think, the series that we've had, and it's rounded things off beautifully today, in the sense we've heard about those aspirational long-term outcomes, and kind of how can we support our young people to have those big ambitions and aspirations and into those really positive next steps. So all of those preparing for adulthood outcomes. And we've heard about employability, we've heard about being successful in the community, health and well-being, those sports outcomes. So a range of amazing examples shared with us over the 3 webinars. So again, what I might urge everyone watching on the call today, and those who are catching up at a later date perhaps, is to really reflect on what does that look like in your school. And a great question that Mark and the guys posed to us really is, what can we do? How can we change things? Because again, we know it's that starting from the earliest possible years when we think about those positive long-term outcomes. And if we think about that very authentic lived experience, that learner and family voice that's so important to us, and that aspiration that we have for our learners and families to be pilots, not passengers, in all that they do in education there. So again, just a huge thank you. I think there's a question that popped up, Mark, if I can pop this back to you. It was from Kim, so thanks, Kim. Are IMAS working with the school games partnerships?
Not at the moment, but that might be an introduction we need, Kim. Thank you for offering.
So again, I think, as Mark said, I really would encourage you to check out the IMAS manifesto that we'll certainly share with you all. Have a look at the great work that the guys are doing, hear more about their stories there, and see how can we capture that in our school communities in a number of different ways. So just a huge thank you to finish off, wishing everyone a fantastic evening. A huge thank you again to all of our panelists and contributors, and also a thanks to Jenny as well for doing an amazing job with the technology and changing all of the slides and hosting so many panelists, which I think is a technical challenge in itself. So again, a huge thanks for joining us as part of this series, and we'd love to hear from you in terms of the work you guys are doing in your school, and we look forward to seeing you next time. So thanks everyone. Thank you.
Can I add one thing?
Yes, Sam, we can round off, Sam. Yes, of course.
Josephine, I saw your comment in the chat about politics and stuff. People with disabilities have a massive influence potentially on politics, but don't get involved enough. Please think about that in schools, etc. Education about learning about politics, how you do the basic principles of it. Yes, people may be younger, but it takes a little bit longer to process. So start thinking about it, talk with your district councils, borough councils, etc., because they can lend you ballot boxes and set up mock ones, etc., so people know how to do it.
Amazing. Thank you, Sam. And a great way to round off that series there in terms of, again, a very authentic voice and that lived experience, which is so, so important. So again, wishing everyone a fantastic evening, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you.